Hey everyone, welcome to Live Lessons. I'm glad that you are with us. We are here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a cold night here in Nashville, and we're here with our good friend, Ron Block. Ron, thank you so much.
Steve, thanks for having me.
For being part of all this craziness. This is actually our 2-year anniversary of Live Lessons. We've been doing live lessons for 2 years. What started out as just me and a laptop has turned into all of this craziness, and so glad that all of you have joined us. Go ahead and type in where you're from. That's always fun. Looks like we've got, 300 and some odd people in here already.
My goodness.
Tasmania, Australia, Birmingham, Alabama. Boy, they're coming fast now. Shreveport. I saw Brazil somewhere in there. Georgetown, Massachusetts. Oh, well, great. Well, welcome, everybody. Glad that you're here. We're here in Nashville, Tennessee. This is part of the Learn to Master Guitar world that we're in. And today we're going to be talking about flat picking and bluegrass guitar, which is a type of guitar playing that we really haven't done very much of in the last 2 years. So I couldn't think of a better person to have with us than Ron Block from Alison Krause's band and Union Station. So we're going to start off, we're going to get started right off with a song called The Old Spinning Wheel.
Yep.
All right? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I can tell already this is going to be a great night. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get right into it. We're going to be doing some giveaways a little bit later on in the broadcast. If you want to be part of the giveaways, then you need to be actually logged into us through Ustream. So just go to ustream.tv and you can log in there, and then you'll be a part of the chat, and then we can see you, and we'll pick your name for some of the giveaways that we're giving away a little bit later on. All right, but let's get started with Ron. Gosh, I met you actually through church a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
How did you get started playing guitar?
I remember hearing Lindsey Buckingham when I was, I must have been 8 years old. Actually, further back, it was Grady Martin on Marty Robbins' Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs. I think I was 4 or 5. And my mom had that record of Marty Robbins in the Gunfighter, the black suit, pink cover, He was doing that. But yeah, El Paso and all those. I remember hearing the Grady Martin play the acoustic guitar, and I was captured by it, even back then. But I didn't start till I was about 13, though.
Now,
or 11.
Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Southern California. I grew up Southern and Northern California.
Not really a hotbed for bluegrass playing, I wouldn't think.
No.
And so how did you get first introduced to guitar playing?
Well, it was through hearing those, and then I think I was around 11, and I just wanted a guitar. I don't even know what prompted wanting one. Except my dad had a music store, so I did see. I guess that's what it was. Guys sitting around playing guitars. I finally, I think, got the desire to have one.
What was the name of the music store?
Hogan's House of Music.
Hogan's House of Music.
Yeah. So he got me one. I was 11, and but I didn't really have a direction. I was just looking through chord books and playing kind of cowboy songs and just strumming. Basically. And there was no bluegrass for me yet. I'd never heard it yet.
And so you're 12 or 13 around this.
Yeah, I was 11 till about 12, and I think when I was 12 is when I heard bluegrass for the first time.
Now, did you come from a musical family? Obviously, your dad probably played since
he does. He can kind of get along on any he works on instruments, so he'll play the violin for a few minutes, and while he's working on it, and test it out, and guitar, he knows some chords and things. But he was a bass player mostly. He quit playing years ago.
Now, did you take formal lessons at any point along the
way? I took a year of guitar lessons. I think I must have been about 13, and a year of banjo lessons from a guy named Alan Wald, and and they were beneficial. But I was so self-driven that he eventually just said, just just go learn.
Now, what was the catalyst? What was the first? Like you mentioned, you didn't initially hear bluegrass and obviously didn't kind of grow up around that. What was the first time that you heard it and got inspired by it?
Lester Flatt, I heard. It was, I think he was on the CMA Awards. I don't remember, but it was on TV. And I think it was around 78, 1978. And I just was, I don't know, I remember the feeling I had. I don't even remember what the song was, but I remember the feeling I had, and I just instantly wanted a banjo after that. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever? I'm sure you have run across Earl Scruggs and have probably have played with him somewhere along the way. A
little bit.
Yeah, and he died 2 years
just
ago?
recently. Yeah,
a year or so ago. Fantastic. So that was. So how did you get playing with others?
Well,
out of just the learning mode, get into where you're playing with others.
It was a process. I think what happened at first was I got the banjo, and then at the same time I got into more bluegrass guitar. I suddenly discovered the whole world of bluegrass. And so my dad got me a few records, and I got a book by this banjo player, Pete Wernick, called Bluegrass Banjo. That was my first banjo book. And at just about the same time, or maybe a little after that, I got Earl Scruggs' banjo book. Got his book. And so I was, reading the Earl Scruggs book in biology class and stuff like that. So got a D that year, actually. It's my only D I ever had.
So you play guitar, you play acoustic guitar, you play banjo.
Banjo.
What else?
A little bit of electric. I've played electric on and off. It's kind of, I like how expressive electric players are with all the bends, and so I've kind of ended up translating some things to acoustic guitar and to banjo. The bend.
What about like
qualities.
Other bluegrass instruments, mandolin?
Yeah, I've dabbled. I've dabbled in those things. I was at one time I was, I could have been like a utility mandolin player, but I wasn't a great mandolin player. But
and in in Union Station, you're primarily doing
I
acoustic
play
guitar and banjo.
Acoustic guitar and banjo. Yeah.
Pretty equally.
Yeah, these days it seems like this tour. It seemed like this year we had more banjo, a little more banjo back to what it used to be. It used to be a little more banjo than guitar, and now it's usually a little more guitar than banjo.
You've had such an amazing career over the years. You've been with Alison Krauss for over 20 years.
21 years, yeah.
21 years.
I actually joined in '91, so yeah.
And how did y'all meet each other?
But that's what the question you asked beforehand was. So I was, moving toward playing with others, and the way that you do that in bluegrass is go to festivals. And so I discovered bluegrass festivals, and I must have been 15, and started going to festivals and jamming with people. And you go to these festivals, and there's music on stage, but then people, jam at their campsites, and we'll jam until 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And so that's really that's really a great place, even though you don't call it that when you're 16, at networking.
Yeah.
I mean, you're meeting people, you're playing, you're seeing people who's playing you love, and then you go up to him and go, man, that was awesome. And they go, hey, I saw you too. Would you want to pick later? And that's kind of what happened with Allison and Adam Steffi, who used to be in Union Station, Tim Stafford, and Barry Bales, who's our bass player, and Dan too. It was all kind of that get together and pick kind of thing.
That is an area of bluegrass playing that is of the bluegrass world that's always been amazing to me, that I wish other genres had. That idea of younger players coming in and, hey, you play a little bit, great, let's play together. I wish, the blues world had that, or the jazz world had, or the rock world had that, where, sure, let's sit down. You're a world-class player and you're a beginner. Hey, let's play a few tunes together. And that is one thing that I've always admired about the bluegrass world, is that openness to, hey, let's just get together and play. And so many people need that.
It's a huge place of growth, because I remember going to a festival, when I was, let's say I was 17, I'd go to a festival, and for 3 days, everything was about music, 100%, and I was playing 7 hours throughout the day, and really playing and focusing and trying to do my best. Well, by the end of 3 days of that, you get home and your fingers are sore, but then you pick it up the next day and go, wow, I'm better, because it's just so much playing.
If you wanted to know, I know IBMA, which is the International Bluegrass Musicians Association, Music
Association,
their big convention is here in Nashville. That actually wasn't all that long ago, probably just a couple of months ago. Is there, where would somebody go to get information about bluegrass festivals in their area?
There's stuff online. Bluegrass Unlimited is a magazine, and they carry lists. And I believe bluegrasstoday.com carries, they have some, there's a lot of resources online that can tell you where festivals are.
Fantastic. We had a question. Jerome LMG is asking, Ron, is Allison as pretty in real life as she is on TV?
Well, of course.
Geach, NYC, moving from playing guitar alone to playing in a group. How do you make that, what is for a lot of learners, a big transition from going from your bedroom where you've been learning to actually going out and playing with some folks?
I think one of the best things you can do to transition is play with records, because a record is a very patient band. You can screw up all over the place, and you have the freedom to do that, and you have the freedom to try to improvise. You have the freedom to try to play it exactly like the record. You can do whatever you want if you play with records, and the only thing that you should do is try to make it sound as good as possible.
Are there resources? I know there are for jazz, and I know there are some for rock, of play-along, jam-along resources. Is there any sort of thing like that? In bluegrass,
I think Band in a Box had some of that, some bluegrass stuff, but also I think people have done, I can't remember who, but people have done records and such, where it's like music -1. I think Pete Wernick did some of that stuff way back when. I don't know if he still does it or.
What's his name?
Pete Wernick. Peter Wernick.
Okay.
He's a bluegrass banjo player, and he has all kinds of teaching camps and such. So.
Anytime you can catch something like that, a teaching camp, a festival, something where you're immersed in it for a while, that is a great place to learn.
Yeah, it is.
You can learn a lot in a short amount of time by just getting immersed in it. Wow, the questions are already coming. Amaranth 315. What was the biggest hurdle, Ron, you had while learning guitar? And how'd you overcome it? My biggest hurdle was is learning guitar, and I'm still haven't overcome it.
Kind of. No, it's. I don't know if I think it's a series. I mean, you do come up to plateaus, and then you kind of get stuck for a while. I remember being frustrated, and a lot of times that for me that had to do with tone. The guitar I had, it wouldn't get the tone I wanted, and so I would look for another guitar. But I think in bluegrass, in flat picking, I think one of the main aspects of it is the right hand and being able to play combinations of notes. And, to work past any hurdle, I think just it requires endurance and patience. And also, this is a little off topic, but it applies. Making sure that your mind and your body are relaxed when you're doing it. You're not like this trying to do it, and I got to break through this hurdle. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, it'll come. I just got to keep working at it, and you know do the thing that you're trying to learn over and over. So I don't know how much that answers that question, but
let's talk about. You've played for so many different things. You've played for other artists other than Alison Krauss. You've played with Brad Paisley and Dolly Parton and Vince Gill. Probably had some memorable musical experiences. And I know for Alison Krauss, you've played at the White House. You've played overseas.
We've done crazy stuff. Yeah.
What are some things lately that you have played that have been memorable in the last couple of months?
I think my most favorite thing I've done in a long time was I got to go to England and play with Kate Rusby and her husband Damien O'Kane and their bunch, and they were just amazing musicians. And
really?
and they really just really opened me up to a lot of new kinds of thinking.
Does she have a website? How do you spell her name?
Kate Rusby. It's RUSBY. KATE Rusby.com. She's an amazing artist and songwriter, singer. She is truly. She's heart music, and she to me she does what Alison does over here, which is take aspects of American traditional music and sort of combine it with other elements and make her unique individual expression of what that is. And I feel like Kate does that over there. She takes the traditions. And so her music is very rooted and stable and beautiful. So anyway, that was one of my highest.
Fabian, maybe you can find that link if you can, katerusby.com.
Yeah.
And put that up if folks are interested in it.
And she has a new record out called 20, and it's really great. And there's great guitar playing on the record too. So.
All right, let's talk about flat picking and bluegrass guitar playing a little bit. If a person is trying to learn that style, what are some key elements to be thinking of in that style? First of all, starting with the picking hand, I was noticing there's so much fast kind of 16th note execution of runs. Is it all in the wrist? Is it up and down?
I've gone back and forth about that stuff. I think first of all, one of the best tools you can have, of course, most of you guys probably know about this, is Amazing Slowdowner.
Tell us about that.
The Amazing Slowdowner is a piece of software you can get. I think it's RONI Music, Roni Music, or Roni Music, I don't know how you say it, .com. And it's just a piece of software where you can slow down MP3 files or WAV files. And, if I'd had that when I was, 15 and 16, because I was taking a cassette player and going, boom, stop.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to find it, and then I'd rewind, and I'd go, boom, stop. And so to have that thing where you can actually loop a section of music, slow it down, and have the pitch stay the same, I've used that for probably 10, 15 years.
And it's called the Amazing Slowdowner.
Yeah.
Fabian, I'm making you work. If you can find that, you'll get twice the nothing we're paying for you right now. Thanks. Fabian is our volunteer moderator.
Oh, great.
So he is faithfully here at every lesson. Everybody show Fabian a little bit of love. Fabian is worth it every time. So that will help kind of be able to hear what you're playing. Now, I've got a question.
What?
Is it all improvised? Is it variations?
Yeah, you mean bluegrass in general, or my playing?
An average guitar player's approach to soloing in a bluegrass style.
Yeah, I think it depends on the band and on the player, but I think generally people do improvise in bluegrass. Generally they don't play a break exactly the same every time. But of course, if you're playing in a band and you have solos that need to be the same because they're identifiable and that's what the audience is wanting, then of course you have to do that. We have elements in our band that have to stay the same.
Yeah.
And then there's elements where you can improvise. But I think overall the approach to bluegrass is very improvised music.
Like even in the little opening song that we did, which is an old bluegrass song that I was not familiar with, which is not uncommon, and it's the spinning song. Play,
oh yeah.
if you can, what is just the pure melody of that song?
I started with it. It's like.
You're kind of accompanying yourself a little bit with just kind of parts of chords.
Yeah. If you're playing a solo like that, which Maybelle Carter used to do that. The Carter family.
So you've got the melody on the lower tones.
Yeah.
And then you've got just a little.
And the chords keep going.
And you're just kind of doing a little.
Yeah. Kind of
up at the top.
Yeah. And that's basic, that's a basic idea.
So if you were going to take the melody and then create a solo from that, where would you go, or what would you do as you're coming at a solo?
I mean, some of that has to do with knowing the neck. I spent a lot of time, learning scales up and down each string, and I'm not as up on some position scales, but learning the neck. I think knowing the neck is that's a foundational thing. So once a person knows that, you can right, and there's your basic melody. So then you can whoops. It's just playing around with it. And I think one of the ways that I learned that was, there's a great record called the Bluegrass album, and it's with J.D. Crowe and Tony Rice and Doyle Lawson and Bobby Hicks and Todd Phillips on bass. And one of the things I used to do is play that record, and on banjo I would try to play the breaks just like J.D. Crowe. I'd try to play just like J.D., but then there would be times where I would try to do it my own way, but still play the melody. And so with guitar, I did the same thing. I would sit and play guitar and try to play something that was the melody, but that was different every time. So I would take, there'd be a banjo kickoff, and then there'd be, a mandolin solo, and I would play over the mandolin solo, my own solo, and try to play the melody or copy the mandolin, or just, it's like it's playing around all the time. That's part of it.
I know you mentioned. We did an interview, probably a year and a half or so ago for Gibson and Gibson Skills House, which that interview is still up. I checked it today, so Fabian, maybe you can find that link for Gibson Skills House, the Ron Block interview. One of the things that you mentioned there that kind of opened up the neck rather than just playing in an open position was a great resource, which you've actually turned me on to, which is a book called The Advancing Guitarist by Mick Goodrick. Fabian, you've got the link to this book as well. Talk to us a little bit about some of the concepts in here about playing up the neck, and instead of playing a scale in a position.
Sorry.
Being able to, that's all right.
Yeah, he one of the things that Mick talks about in that book is he talks about the science of the unitar. So he sends you off on this tear. Well, he doesn't say, here's a tab of the scales and all this. He goes, here's all the info, go figure it out, but he gives you all the info, tells you what it's all about, and then he basically, you go find it. You supply I've supplied the knowledge. So I did my job, now you do your job. So, it requires a lot of time, but, I learned, simply, playing scales up and down each string. Just different ways of playing them. just finding different ways to play scales up and down, but only using one string.
Right.
And then he would have you improvise over vamps. So, like if you played like a D, well, let's just play a C. So I'm in C. So I would just play some kind of like a slower place, like. Just so you're stuck on one string, so the impulse is always to go play something on the other strings, but the limitation helps you kind of destroy just mere patterns that you tend to flail around on. And so it really it's given me a sense a lot of times when I work on that, it gives me a sense of freedom going up and down the neck, so I don't I don't feel intimidated by the guitar neck.
Yeah.
You learn where the notes are by doing all that. You just learn, and you not only learn them for your fingers, you learn them for here and for here. And
that doing it that way, I know just for me, I found that when you do that, it forces you to hear a melody in your head and try and recreate it on your through your fingers, without going to your normal patterns.
Like a lick or a pattern,
yeah. It forces you, it won't let you do that, so you've got to let your ear guide you.
Yeah.
And that's the whole trick, is getting your ear to start guiding your playing rather than your familiarity with a pattern.
Right. Because you can easily, and I used to do that. Of course, I, drove people around me crazy. But, I used to do that for long periods of time on, just doing one thing. But you get bored. Yeah. You get bored really fast doing that, but then you have to go. He talks about this. He says you can use vibrato. You have to stay in C at first. You can do half step bends, but you can't do whole step bends. So he has all these kind of rules that lock you in a box of limitation, and then you have to figure out what you can do with that to make it interesting and musical.
Yeah.
And it's a really great exercise. It's really a good thing.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to let Ron rest for a second while we talk about some resources, and then we'll get to a few more of your questions. I see, gosh, so many questions, great questions coming in. Being that this was, Ron was here, I wanted to do a little bit more of a flat-picking bluegrass emphasis. So you guys know, we have resources that I get together and pick out for each month. And this month, since this is actually the first, we haven't had live lessons for 2 weeks. So this is the first time I can tell you about our resources. The resources I picked were, there's a book by Hal Leonard called The Real Book is What We Use in Jazz. And I know that's a book that I take on every jazz gig I play. This is actually called The Real Bluegrass Book. And what this is it's over 300 songs, just bluegrass, standards, written in a simple chord changes on top, single notes, and then lyrics down there as well. So you probably know a good hunk of these tunes. And so it's a great resource. So that's part of our resources for this month. And then I also picked out, because you were here and you had mentioned this particular video called An Intimate Lesson with Tony Rice.
That is awesome. That is just an amazing, it's Tony in his prime, absolutely just, he does this song called Church Street Blues and just looks at the camera, plays it, sings it. It's all just beautiful. It's amazing.
There are 5 full songs on this, and I think it comes with the music and tab as well, if I remember right. Put out by our good friends over at Homespun Tape. So anyway, these 2 resources are part of our Bluegrass Learning Pack, and the guys have put that on a sale for $54.99 for both of these. So you'll save a few bucks buying them together. And then we also have a bundle with the new fingerstyle course that is coming out. But I wanted to give away this, so someone is about to win an intimate lesson with Tony Rice. Okay, you guys ready? The winner of this DVD is Filter Man. Filter Man, you have just won an intimate lesson with Tony Rice DVD. What you need to do, you guys know this, you need to email us at service@legacylearningsystems.com. Service@legacylearningsystems.com. Fabian, you can put up that link and give us your mailing address and phone number and stuff like that, and we will get this out to you. Great resource, great resource. All right, let's play a little bit. We've been yabbering on here for 20 minutes. Let's play a little bit.
Make sure I'm in tune here. Yep, hit me note.
Sorry, just change strings. Even for the greats, when you change strings, you still got a tune.
All right.
All right, In the Garden.
Yep.
And we're doing this. This is the great old hymn, In the Garden. I know this is one of my mom's favorites. Mom, if you're watching, this was for you. I thought of this as soon as we decided to play this. We're going to do it in the key of E. And you started, I think.
Yep.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Ron. All right. Wanted to also we're going to give away one more thing, and this is a great resource. You know, in talking about flat picking guitar and bluegrass guitar, one of the best magazines that I've come across that helps out with that is Flatpicking Guitar Magazine. It's a magazine that looks like this. I think the website is flatpick.com. And these are great little resources. Actually, one of you guys gave me a subscription to this. I'm not sure who. Maybe it was Tom. Maybe you or Tom Dunham. Maybe you sent this to me. But anyway, I have gotten really familiar with this magazine. It comes each issue comes out every 2 months. Each issue comes with a CD that has this particular month has 38 tracks on it, filled with all kinds of songs and various skill levels. There's some beginner stuff. There's some intermediate, advanced. There's even like you'll have a song and it'll be in 3 different tempos. So it's a great learning resource. And then there'll be like a track of the guy going, okay, here's what I'm thinking when I'm playing this song. And it's just great. All the music is tabbed out. You got music notation, you got tab, lots of good things, interviews with great guys. This is a tremendous resource. So I'd encourage you guys to check it out. Also, someone is about to win a year subscription to Flatpicking Guitar Magazine, thanks to our good friends over at flatpick.com. So the winner of this is, oh wow, I'm not gonna say this right, Kenaniah MWH. Kenaniah NWH? MWH? Let me spell it. KENANIAH MWH. You have just won a year subscription to Flatpicking Guitar Magazine, but you haven't won anything until you email us at service@legacylearningsystems.com with all of your information. I'll send it off to them, and they'll start you up on that. All right. There you go. We're going to take a break, and we're going to have a trivia question. Then we're going to come back and answer your questions and play a little bit more. You ready? You guys have been enjoying the trivia questions. So here we go. Here's our trivia question for tonight. You guys ready? What was the name of the music store that Ron's dad had in Southern California? We mentioned it earlier, if you can remember it. All right, while you think about that, we're going to take a break just for a second and get a drink of water, and we'll be back. We'll play some more stuff and give away some more stuff. See you guys in just a minute. Hey everybody, Steve Krenz here, and I'm in the studio just about to finish up a brand new guitar course. That's right, Learn and Master Spotlight fingerstyle guitar is nearly complete, and I couldn't be more pleased with how it's turning out. You know, imagine sitting down with just you and your guitar and playing a solo fingerstyle arrangement of one of your favorite songs. Now you'll have the tools to do just that, and that's why I created this course. So be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because we'll be making the release date announcement soon.
Furthering your education, Legacy Learning Systems offers a unique resource to all students, the Learn and Master online community. Here you can communicate with fellow students and course instructors and immerse yourself into an interactive community where knowledge, fun facts, and experiences are shared. Signing up is easy. Take your learning to the next level. The Learn and Master online community, your place for serious instruction.
All right, we're back. I hope you guys are back with us. Wow, I'm seeing here we have over 400-ish people in here tonight. This is great. All right, you guys ready for the answer to the trivia question? What was the name of the music store that Ron's dad owned in Southern California? That name of that store is?
Hogan's House of Music.
Hogan's House of Music in... where's that?
Lawndale, California.
Lawndale.
It originally was.
Yeah. I was looking online, and I found Hogan's House of Music. It was in a discussion board reference to it. saying, what are some of the coolest stores you've ever been in? And one of them was, there was this place, Hogan's House of Music in Southern California.
It was
one of the coolest music store.
It was a cool store, and I have to say that I think I put my hands on every 50s and 60s Strat, Telly, and Les Paul that came through, and never bought a one of them.
Dad owns the music store. Why would you?
Yeah, why
you
would
got
you do
more?
that? And I'm into bluegrass, right? Why would I want that?
Why would I want that? All right, we're gonna play another song. I'm not gonna play. There's a song that I did when we had our interview with Ron back on Gibson Skills House. One of the songs that Ron just played that just captivated everybody during that time was the hymn, This Is My Father's World. And since then, I've used it I've used that arrangement for various things. And I was wondering if you would do us the honor of playing that for us.
Yes, gladly.
Absolutely gorgeous. I remember I had just learned your arrangement, and we had gone on a mission trip, and we were in Cuba, and I was training guitarists in Cuba. And I remember sitting out in this little place in the hills outside of Cuba, sitting on the concrete floor playing that in the morning, trying to work that out for that. So just hearing you play that reminds me of just looking out on the hillside in Cuba as I was
The deep rolling
playing
hills
that.
of Cuba.
Yeah,
It's a bluegrass song, I think.
Wow, beautiful. I didn't even have this on my notes to talk about, but I want to talk about it anyway. When you're arranging a song like that, what are you thinking as you're putting together an arrangement of like a hymn or something like that? When you're doing a solo guitar arrangement of that?
Yeah, solo guitar is so different. Like when we were playing in the garden, I'm free to play single lines and then double stops or intervals. But when you're doing something like this, you have to keep things going. You have to have a context for the melody, so you kind of have to think of chords. And I don't know a ton of jazz chords or any of that kind of stuff, but I just kind of try to find something that sounds reverent.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm looking for if I'm especially doing a hymn. I want something that sounds beautiful and moving, and that I guess so. It's just a melody, and then.
And you're in drop D tuning. This song
Drop
is in the
D.
key of D. So in order to give it a lot of that richness, you can play it in drop D, which is you take the sixth string, that low E, and you take it down to a low D, and it really gives this rich bottom end to the sound.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm especially, keen on is tone, and when I play a song like that, I want the tone. This guitar in particular sounds good, but I worked really hard when I was young. My son plays a guitar I used to play. The only guitar I had for years was a '69 Martin. So I would try to get the best tone I could out of that guitar. And as I went along, then I'd get a '52 Martin and try to get the best tone I could. So I was always trying to get the best tone I could, because to me, a lot of the feeling that comes through it is in the tone.
Yeah.
It's in the beauty of a round. It's in the tone and dynamics and all that. But I mean, you can have those things, I guess, mechanically. But it's about putting the feeling into it when you're playing it.
One of the things in that particular arrangement of it does the melody down an octave for the first time through, and then does the melody of the chorus, and then the second part, or the verse of the chorus, and then we take it up an octave and do the same thing, just up an octave, which takes you into a different area of the neck, which lends itself to other different things that you can do with voicings and things like that.
Yeah. I wish I knew more. If I'd have spent more time with that Advancing Guitarist book, I'd probably know a lot more than I do. But it's like a lifetime book for me. I pull it out every once in a while and then go through it for a few months and learn some more stuff.
Speaking of learning, I am thrilled that I can actually be holding a piece of product in front of you that represents about 2 years of my life. The Learn and Master fingerstyle course, of which that song, This Is My Father's World, is in. I do a fingerstyle arrangement of it, is finally in. So we're in the pre-sale of it now. This course I've been working on for about 2 years, and it has 10 DVDs, quite a bit. It's about 12 hours of instruction. And what I think I did pretty good in this, as opposed to some of the other things, is I gave a really good foundation for fingerstyle playing at the beginning. So you don't need to be the course isn't meant to be for like an absolute, here's a guitar beginner. But if you know your notes and know your basic chords, then I'll take you step by step through fingerstyle techniques up into some fairly advanced playing. We get into jazz, we get into how to arrange songs. That's why I wanted to touch on arranging. We do Christmas songs. We're coming into the Christmas season. I got a bunch of those. I think there's over like 30 different songs in the course. There's a 130 plus page book that is part of this that you can download as well, that I poured everything I could pour into this. We also have guest lessons, guest footage from Phil Kagi and
Great.
Tom Bresch.
Excellent.
And we also have Pierre Ben Susan. I don't know if you know Pierre. He was the World Guitarist of the Year by Acoustic Guitar Magazine. Phenomenal. So anyway, this course is officially here. The book is, it's not a physical book, it's a book that you can it's on the CD, and then you just print it out from that. So we've done that before. Anyway, it's a great course. The pre-sale is going on right now for it. And I think the guys have it for $89. And the pre-sale is good for the next, it's like till tomorrow night. It's been going on for like a week and a half. These things start shipping on Thursday. So up until like midnight tomorrow night, you can still get it for the low price of $89. After that, it goes up. So you snooze, you lose. Anyway, that's the Fingerstyle Guitar Project. I'm very proud of it. Fabian, you've got some links for that. Throw those up if you can. Anyway, it's a great course. We've got a new promo for it too that actually shows some of the different footage and how I put all the exercises on the screen like we did for the Learn and Master Guitar course, so you don't have to always be looking at the book. You can just look at it on the screen, too. So anyway, great resource. Check that out if you can, the pre-sale. And if you're interested, man, get it in the pre-sale because the price is going to go up on Thursday. And it'll never be back down this low again. All right, that's enough of all that nonsense. And we're boxing them up now, so some of you probably already got shipping notifications. We're boxing them all up right now, and they'll go out the door on Thursday. So there you go. We have several questions before we get out of here. Eraser Team is asking, are there specific keys for bluegrass?
There used to be kind of where bluegrass players have always used capos, and in the old days, they would play an E, or they would play an F, put the capo there, and play.
But you're thinking an E. And
you're thinking an E, yeah. And then there's G position stuff, and so you'd play either in A, B flat, B, or you'd play in C, or you play in D. Sort of like that's basically it. But it depends on what you're talking about with. And these days, what you're talking about is bluegrass. People like Chris Thiele and those guys can play in whatever key they want. And it's amazing. So yeah, there's really no. But for basic bluegrass, yeah, there's G position, E position, D position, C position. That kind of thing. So.
Cool. Had a question from the discussion board. Brissy Girl is asking, does bluegrass use only flat picking, or does sometimes it use pick and fingers?
Oh yeah. These days, people are doing all kinds of things, and I'll put some right there. I'll stick it right there. But in the old days, there was I don't have my banjo picks, which I would normally use for this, but Earl Scruggs would do the.
But you've got a thumb pick on, right?
Yeah, I have a thumb pick on, and what
kind of thumb pick is that?
This is a blue chip, and it's a J.D. Crowe kind of thumb pick.
Is
it's
it
actually
metal?
Well, it's metal, but then the part that contacts the string is not metal. It's a blue chip material.
Blue chip. I haven't heard of that.
It's got good tone. But they would often do, let's say Earl Scruggs, with Flatt and Scruggs, they would do gospel song, and he would do stuff like. He would do that kind of. It was kind of a combination of his, almost his banjo rolls with Travis picking.
Kind of Travis picking.
Yeah, and it was so yeah, it can be done, and I believe Jim Hurst has done lots of stuff with, finger style stuff in a bluegrass setting, and there's lots of people do that.
I'm not even going to attempt the name. High Fibri, Knee Fibri. Can you talk a little bit about holding the pick and alternate picking? And I've got some questions regarding that too. For bluegrass stuff, are you using a thinner pick, a thicker pick? Do you want a sharp edge? Do you want a more rounded edge?
Well, this pick I'm using right now is a little too. I want it to be a little more pointed. It's worn down. This is tortoiseshell, so it's worn down quite a bit.
But it's pretty rounded.
It's pretty rounded, and it's also a little too thick. I'm getting, as I get older, and I'm analyzing things even more than I normally do, I'm realizing I need a little bit thinner tortoiseshell. It needs to give a little bit more than it does, and I think that would ease my right hand facility a lot. So,
do you want a pick that has a fairly pointed edge, or do
not
you like
pointy?
It
no, I like it rounded, but this is a little more rounded because I've used this pick for probably a year.
Yeah.
I had the perfect pick. Dan Tominski made me the perfect pick I ever had, and I went to adjust a mic stand, and the pick went crack.
Oh.
And it busted in half. It was the most perfect. But it was the right thickness, so I've got to get one back down.
Super. Here's another pick question, especially tonight. How does Ron hold it in order to move so fluidly between chord strumming and melody picking?
I kind of hold it. I don't know if you can see that.
It's basically just a standard pick hold.
Pretty standard, but it seems like some people are more like this. I see people play with their index finger more out of the way, and for whatever reason, my fingers are a little bit strange, and so they don't like to do that. So sometimes my fingernail contact string, but it's basically, a standard pick hold. I think it's more, in going between. I think it's just, finding the place where it's held firmly enough, where it's, you have ease and fluidity, but not so firmly that it's,
sounds rigid.
Sounds rigid. Yeah, you want it to be brushy a little bit.
Yeah. He's got, as I'm looking at him from my vantage point, it's a very standard. He's got about 1/4 of an inch of pick showing.
Yeah, you don't use much pick. You don't need to use.
Yeah.
You don't need to like have the pick sticking way out and then dig it way into the strings. Now, if you're playing on those pretty songs, I use a lot of rest strokes. So like. Because you get fat tone when you do a.
And that's all downstrokes. Is what he's talking about.
Right? So you get a fat tone that way. But if you're flat picking, like a bluegrass song, you don't need that fat a tone.
Yeah.
Because you're not dealing with sustain.
Yeah.
You're dealing with, you're dealing with notes that are going by quickly.
Yeah.
So if you try to, and I used to always go, well, I don't want to lose my tone, so I guess I can't play fast. Well, that's just dumb. And that's what I used to do, is I wanted to have a certain kind of tone, but you need different kinds of tone for different kinds of songs.
Now, as you're trying to build up the speed in a rapid fire picking like that, what are some things to try? Just scales or just anything that requires?
I've changed my mind on that. I used to think, especially I was using advancing guitarists and all that, which was incredibly beneficial. I used to think that if I learned scales and I learned chords and I learned this and that, then I would be able to put it all together. I think one of the most important things I missed, especially as a guitar player, I was always wanting to play vocal songs, and play guitar on vocal songs and play pretty stuff. One of the things I missed was learning tunes, and one of the best things you can do as a bluegrass guitar player is learn fiddle tunes and learn, tunes as they're played, note for note. And that'll help your picking facility more than anything. It's just sitting and learning those tunes and encountering the problems that you encounter when you learn a new tune. You suddenly go, oh, why can't I do this? Oh, it's a pick direction and hitting another string that I've never done before. Well, I've got to sit and work at it. Yeah. And then you've mastered something new.
And fiddle tunes are a great way to do that because they don't land necessarily like a guitar player would play them.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll get, fingerings across strings and things like that are awkward, that you need to work through the technical issues with that. Shaman girl? Can Ron expand on the box theory he applies to his playing?
Well, that's more, I thought of that more in regard to banjo, but it's true of guitar. It's more just like thinking in positions, where, let's see, where you have scales and positions. It's that simple. And playing out of that. I mean, that's really all it is. On the banjo, I tend to see things both this way and then also in terms of, and also like, okay, there's a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah.
Right here. And with guitar, I tend to think more up and down, which, I need to spend more time in positions. But yeah, I guess that's all that really is. It's just kind of position playing applied to the banjo.
Talk about your guitar a little bit, just as we're closing out here. Where did you come across it? What is that? What are you playing on?
Ricky Wasson is a guy. He's a great guitar player, singer from Kentucky, and he plays with J.D. Crowe. And I think he's starting his own band now because J.D. is retiring. But he came to my house, or actually he called me up and he said, I have the guitar you're looking for. In his Kentucky accent. He said, I have the guitar you're looking for. I have the tone you want. And so, he brought it by my house. And, I had quite a few good guitars. And I got out some of my best ones. And then I played this, And then I played mine. And then I played this. And then and I just thought, this is awful. So, because it's got a sweetness to it. It's got a real sweetness to it. So anyway, a few months later, I figured out how I could get it, and so he sold it to me in 2002. So
what you are actually hearing is his guitar going through, what kind of mic is that?
Neumann KM54.
Neumann KM54. So this is directly the sound of his guitar. It's not going through a processor or anything like that. Cool. All right. We need to get out of here. I need to, we're going to give away one thing. You did a
oh yeah,
instructional DVD for AccuTab. That is actually quite involved. This is 3.5 hours of instruction, 2 DVDs.
That's a lot.
It's part of this, yeah. And you're teaching songs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
you have a band with you. And
you'll either learn a lot or fall asleep. I'm not sure.
Well, if they're still with us, then they're actually learning
they'll probably
a lot.
learn a lot.
When did you do this?
I believe it was a couple of years ago, and then his main guy, moved, and so I think he took a while to get it done, but it's finally here.
Finally out. This is a great resource. Somebody's about to win this. Ron Block's 2 DVD set for from Bluegrass to Alison Krauss guitar playing. Our good friends over at AccuTab, John over there, sent us a couple of these out. We'll give away one tonight. We'll give away another one here next time, and we'll get Ron to autograph them. So someone is ready to win this. Peter Moret. Peter Moret, Petermoret. You have just won Ron Block's, and we'll get Ron to autograph this if you would be so kind before we go. Cool, but you haven't won anything, Peter, until you email us at service@Legacy Learning Systems with your mailing address and all that sort of fun stuff. All right, before we close out and do one more song for you that I'm just going to try and hang on to my hat to play, I wanted to talk about some of the things that we've come out with this month. Last week, our newsletter came out, our November newsletter. Since it's Flatpicking month, I threw in a video tip on Flatpicking Bluegrass licks and things like that. We've also got a very special student of the month for our newsletter this month, Warren Crane. Warren, miss you. Warren was one of our legendary founding members of the Learn to Master Guitar discussion board, and Warren died this past year. And I remember the reason why I chose Warren is because it was Thanksgiving of last year, which is next week. So this is a year ago at this time, I was in the hospital with a strange case of double pneumonia. And I was sick as can be, and I couldn't talk, but I could still, email and things like that. So I remember getting an email from Warren in Texas, and we emailed each other back and forth. He was in a hospital bed in Texas for a heart condition, and we were emailing each other back and forth, and I always remember that. That was last Thanksgiving, and Warren eventually had a heart attack a few months later and died on Easter Sunday. So Warren, one of our good friends, miss you, Warren. You were a great part of everything that we're doing here. That is in our November newsletter as well. Let's talk about the next lessons that we have coming up. The next lesson we will have, we're not going to have one the week of Thanksgiving because everybody's out and doing stuff. So the next lesson we'll have will be November 27th, which is going to be an open talk, and I'm going to teach you guys a Christmas song. We'll do that. On December 4th, I booked today. December 4th, we're going to be having, we're going to go into a fingerstyle emphasis for December, and we're going to have Bill Pyburn, which is the editor for Fingerstyle 360 magazine. Do you know Bill, by any chance? Great guy. Boy, he knows everybody. And what Flatpicking Guitar Magazine is to Bluegrass and Flatpicking, Fingerstyle Guitar Magazine, or Fingerstyle 360 is to Fingerstyle. Anyway, we're going to have the editor and good friend Bill Pyburn with us on December 4th. And then December 11th for our great Christmas show is Phil Kagi is back with us again. So it'll be a thrill to have that. We got some new lessons up on Gibson Skills House this week. I put up one for kind of open string hammer-on tricks that you can do with open strings, Kind of Celtic sort of sounding stuff, and tricks you can do with open strings. So I've got a video lesson for that. Our interview with Ron Block is on down in the artist interview section. And then the guys have put up several songs, which are Shine by Collective Soul, Get Back by the Beatles, Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive, and Boom by POD. So those songs are up in the Skills House lesson, which if you want to get to our Skills House lessons, underneath the Ustream video window, I believe on the right side there's a white button, and that will take you to our Skills House lessons. Over on Gibson.com, there's on the left side a blue button, and that will take you to our November resources where you can pick up the flat picking resources. Also, don't forget about the fingerstyle pre-sale going on that goes off tomorrow night. So if you haven't ordered it, now's the time. You snooze, you lose. All right, that's enough of all that sort of stuff. We'd like to thank our producer, John. Thanks for being part of all this stuff and making it happen. Thanks to our moderator, Fabian. Thanks to Legacy Learning Systems, our new friends over at AccuTab that have provided this, and Flatpicking Guitar Magazine as well. All right, that's enough of me doing all of my stuff. We are going to play a song called Worried Man Blues, which I learned all of about an hour ago. And we're doing this, what, in G?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll play this and then get on out of here.
Ready?
All right, I guess so. Wonderful. I hope you guys have had a great night. There's going to be an afterglow tonight. I'll be in the chat room after the live lesson is over with, and we can chat over there in the chat room for the discussion board for a while after the lesson once we get Ron all packed up. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening. We will see you next time.
Thanks.